Let's bring in the think tank, see what they think about all this. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney Eklund Bursey is with us. Also with us, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi and Los Angeles County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, you know all about what's going on in L.A. Did you hear? I don't know if you were able to watch the interview we just did, but what's your take on where this is going post-election?
Well, I mean, first of all, you got to let the man put his keys in his briefcase down and, get his mug and get situated. I mean, he's just entering political office, probably for the first time in his life. And I am heartened by the fact that this man won the election because of his prosecutorial experience and his criminal defense experience. I think he's going to bring a proportional balance in his, not only his hiring, but also his filing decisions. So I'm actually happy for their office. Not to mention that there has been nonstop internecine strife since Gascon was elected because of his groundbreaking policies that he instituted literally overnight. I mean, the attorneys that worked under the prior administration, Jackie Lacey, I'm not going to say that they had some rigorous or difficult guidelines, but they had some precedent, if you will, and they had some predictability in how things were going to go, and the rank and file was pretty much happy with how all that went. And then suddenly, when Gascon took office, he flipped the script and had to whipsaw everybody into pivoting into a new ideology, and it took them by surprise. And I think the biggest problem is, in my honest opinion, is he had very poor stewardship skills. He could not manage the office. The morale was at an all-time low, and they actually had very serious staffing problems. They could not keep people or hire people. So I know that Mr. Hochman's going to bring in a new energy, a new ideology, and rebuild that office. Now, having said that,
what about the Menendez Brothers, Philip?
Yes. Once he rolls up his sleeves, I truly believe, and I really mean this, just like a corporation, there is great deference to decisions that have already been made so you can move on with other business. And I think it would create more strife to go back and revisit a prosecutorial decision that's already been made. You have to allow prosecutors and judges to remain independent from any political type fallout, from any political problems, and let things go forward as they already were. Because I do believe that if you leave things as they are right now, everything will run its course in the proper direction for these young men. I have no doubt, I really don't, that at some point parole is going to be granted for them, or worst case scenario, I do think that they will be resentenced by the higher parole board within parole very quickly. So it's a question of time. And for now, we have to await the outcome of the departure of Gascon before I think we see a real outcome, because I sincerely doubt that anything's going to happen with that habeas petition while he is still in office.
Right. Eklund, your take on what should happen there, despite the new DA. To Philip's point, they have a unit in that office that already recommended this, and people that work on these recalls, and the recall motion's already been filed. Just let it go? What do you think?
I think that the habeas would be against judicial economy. I think it's too expensive to go through all of that, especially this type of case, and especially with this amount of publicity. I think that the previous DA just hopped on just in time for the Netflix special to come and just advertise what they would do anyway. I think that I think that a resentencing should happen with a with a suggestion from the DA saying, time served. It's not like they didn't serve any time. If this case were to have happened in 2023, I'll say 2023, based on their ages and based on what we know about the effects of abuse and what we know about different family dynamics, they would not have been, I do not believe that they would be sentenced to that much. The fact that the family that they're talking to is their family, I believe that just a resentencing and probably a sentence to time served should should be the best choice.
Well, yeah, or be out on parole, and they have a system in place, according to Attorney Mark Garagos, who's representing family members for them to re-enter society. Kirk, California is unique in that they do have this mechanism from the legislature to try to clear out some of the overcrowding in this 1172. They want people who aren't a danger to society, who are of a certain age, to be let out on parole because of the overcrowding situation there. Your thoughts on if the Menendez brothers weren't the Menendez brothers, would they maybe already have taken advantage of this opportunity?
You know, I don't think so. And I think, Ted, one of the things we're missing kind of in this is what you mentioned, the power of the Netflix special, right? We have all these legal means available, the 1172, the habeas petition, everything else. But what really got this ball rolling was a Netflix special, 2 of them, right? And that brought the political pressure on Gascon. And I think that political pressure is also going to apply to Mr. Hochman. He's certainly presenting himself as a tough on crime, but he's got that political bent to it. He's saying, hey, listen, the governor could commute them. What's the big deal? What's the pressure on me? He's trying to kind of pass the ball, if you will, because this Netflix special was so powerful and created a political environment of influential people that want to see these men released. So whether that is through a granting of parole or a commutation or a resentencing, a time served, as Eklund mentioned, I think something is going to happen here because that political pressure through the Netflix, more powerful than legal mechanisms, I guess, is the Netflix special, that these men will ultimately wind up being released.
You do have a series of events, Philip, that need to take place, and if an elected official comes up and stops it, that could be political. It would not, maybe not be advantageous for him. What's your gut in terms of what this office is going to do, either on the 11th or afterwards, if they ask for a delay?
I think they're going to leave the resentencing petition on calendar and let a judge decide if they will get 50 to life. If they get 50 to life, they will be presumptively eligible for a parole hearing, and the matter will get punted from the judiciary to the executive branch to a 2 to 3 member parole panel. And if parole does not recommend their release because the crime was committed while they were under the age of 26, they can then get that decision reviewed by the full panel, which I believe is 11 parole board members. And from there, if it's denied, you'd have to go into court. But I do predict that the first round in the parole review process is going to be successful, and I hope for these young men's sake, young men not anymore, that they are granted parole and given a chance to re-enter society.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank